in Biloxi, Mississippi. And in 1983, me and my entire circle of friends opted to go into the military. That's what we all did at the time. And we didn't have counselors who talked to us about college. There wasn't a push towards college, even though many of us were fully capable and had the type of preparation where we could have gone. But we didn't grow up with parents who knew the college process, who knew how to get us there. And so we all opted for the Army. And after being in the Army a little while, it became very apparent to me that there were a lot of folks, with college degrees that I just didn't feel like were all that smart. So I said, wait a minute, if they can do this, I certainly can. So I got out of the Army and started to work in Washington, D.C. And somehow, by accident, wound up with this small nonprofit that was trying to help improve D.C. public schools. Out of all the things that I had ever done, nothing had prepared me for that job or for this work. But I'll never forget the day after we had changed the superintendent again, that a parent came in to our office because we were doing reports on the school system each year, and she just wanted some help. And I remember us sitting there telling her, well, the new superintendent is here, and he has a 5-year plan, and this is what's going to happen. And she said, well, my baby's in 7th grade. So when this 5-year plan hits, it's going to be way too late for my son. And that to me was just a transformative experience. I didn't have any children at the time, and so, while I felt the work was important, that is when, to me, it started to feel personal. And when it started to feel like a calling. And I haven't done anything else since that time. So I think it was ordained. And I also need to tell you guys, for those of you who don't know, Michelle Reed did resign today in Washington, D.C. And so some folks might not know that, but she did resign today as chancellor of D.C. Public Schools. It is.
I think when I was introduced, they said I was a state legislator. But before that, because I never intended to go into politics, I despised politics. I worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base for 39 years and I retired. I went to work for public housing for 5 years and I retired. And when people asked me about being a state legislator, I said, why me? After I got up there, I served from 98 to 2006. And when I went up there, I asked to be assigned to the Finance Committee, which was the most powerful committee up there, because I wanted to see where the money went. And I figured that was what I was there for. Until I was reading a report, we had 612 school districts in Ohio. And Dayton, Jefferson Township, and Trotwood were at the very bottom. And that completely frustrated me. So I tried to get on the Education Committee. But the people who make those assignments knew that I was pro-choice and therefore would not put me on the Education Committee. So I'm little, but I can scream loud. And so I screamed and wrote letters, and so finally they put me on the Education Committee. Being involved with PACE and Darien, I decided that what we needed was some vouchers. So I went to the Speaker of the House, who at that time was John Houston, and I said, I would like to sponsor a voucher bill. And he said, Dixon, you know that that's political suicide for you. I said, I don't like being here no way. If somebody's going to put me out, at least put me out for a reason.
Exactly.
So we came up with House Bill 128. The Speaker of the House determines which bills get heard. And sometimes we have 500-600 bills that are introduced, and maybe only 50, and maybe sometimes less than that, really get heard. So he put me on the agenda to get my bill heard, and I got up before the Education Committee, and they blasted the daylights out of me. Particularly the people in my party, and particularly the people of my race. They did not want a voucher bill, and they had intended to do a filibuster to keep it going in committee as long as they could. So I went to John Houston and I said, can you get the governor to put it in his budget? It may not be like I want, but if we can get the vouchers done, then I'll acquiesce to the other things that I had asked for in the bill. So we went to see Governor Taft. And at that time, well, even now, you have to pass a budget. It's not like the federal agencies when you can pass a continuing resolution and continue to spend. In the state, you have to pass the budget. So we went to see Tab, and he had 400 vouchers in his budget. And I said, 400? I said, you know what I'll do? I'll go back to Dayton and tell everybody we're going to have 400, get them to apply for it before anybody else finds out about it, and we'll use them all. He said, well, what do you think is fair? I said, 40,000. He said, this, 40,000? I just came up with that number out of my head. I couldn't, I said 400, well, let's go. But anyway, that's what got approved. And so for you people who are using the Ed Choice scholarships, I'm really happy because when it first got approved, nobody was using it. It was going kind of slow there. And I was thinking, do the people want this? Did I make a mistake? Or what? But now I guess all of them are in use, and so I'm very happy. But I'm also leery about what's going to happen in the election and how it's going to go with making more vouchers available, because I don't know that there's anybody there that wants to take that issue on like I did. My granddaughter went to Richard Allen School. Well, she started at West Park Academy and went to Richard Allen, and that's when I really, really got involved with the charter school movement. And when I was going to the public schools trying to figure out why the parents weren't involved, they would tell me they can't get the parents to come out, and the parents won't come out even when they have PTA meetings and programs. So I started going to Richard Allen programs, and if I was 5 minutes late, I couldn't get a seat. So Mrs. Harris started holding a seat open for me so I could see what my granddaughter was doing. Because the parents were coming out, and it showed that the parents were interested, very interested. And so my granddaughter graduated from Richard Allen, went to Northmont High School in the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And now she's at Grambling. She's a third-year student on an academic scholarship. And I know that came from Richard Allen. I know that came from Richard Allen. So I serve on the board for Richard Allen. I serve on the board for PACE. And I try to do whatever I can to help those organizations because it's something that I really, really believe in. And that's more rewarding than being a state legislator other than when they did pass the voucher bill.